Honoré Daumier is widely regarded as one of the greatest French caricaturists of the 19th century. But he was even more than that. Daumier was one of the first artists of modernism. Daumier believed that the artist had an ethical duty to be contemporary to their own time. His art fulfills this purpose in images that directly engage the viewer with subjects of modern life. This method could be described as Daumier's moral gaze. Daumier's lithograph, The Legislative Belly, depicts an assembly of the French legislature. Each face is simultaneously given enough individuality of character to make the politician identifiable, and sufficient deformity to visualize their collective pomposity. Their moral corruption has reshaped their physical appearances. A play on the concept of the legislative body, the title Legislative Belly suggests how these politicians are consumed by their own greed. Daumier's work in sculpture also manifests his capacity to visualize the complexity of personality in facial forms and expressions. Between 1832 and 1833, he created a group of caricature busts depicting contemporary politicians. These works of unfired clay evidence a metamorphosis of material. Their relationship between clay and the human face is simply uncanny. In fact, these sculptures were part of Daumier's preparation for the legislative belly. Political lithographs, such as the legislative belly, demonstrate why Daumier has been called the Michelangelo of caricature. Honoré Daumier was also an important figure in the realist movement. Realism was a pivotal mid-19th century method that sparked Impressionism and Modernism. The term modern means to be firmly rooted in one's own contemporary moment. Declaring himself to be a realist and a modernist, Daumier famously stated, "One must be of one's own time." Daumier was an insightful observer of human behavior. His art is a study in how people act in certain social situations. Daumier's work rises above political caricature to an art that is invested in the causes and consequences of modernity. Daumier's realist method and moral gaze are evidenced in a group of 3 watercolor drawings that he created in 1864. They depict passengers on the railroad. Creating portraits of modern life, Daumier was able to capture the essence of a narrative moment with just a few facial expressions and poses of the body. Daumier visualized each passenger in the first-class carriage with a graceful humanity that personalizes them. While some commentators have suggested that these figures seem psychologically isolated from each other, the visual rhythm of repeating pattern of the carriage's interior design compositionally unites them as a group. In the modest confines of a second-class carriage, this group of strangers becomes a community. These passengers are not caricatures to be critiqued, but rather travelers to be joined. Daumier's third-class carriage focuses on a group of tired passengers. His treatment of these figures has such visual warmth and pictorial intimacy that the viewer feels connected to them. In this image, a fleeting moment from the lives of socially marginalized figures, seems to have the gravitas of historical, even sacred importance. These works evidence how Daumier's realist method situates the viewer within the subject, placing the viewer in the third-class carriage transforms us from a spectator to a participant. This direct engagement of the viewer into subjects that often depict social inequities is Daumier's moral gaze.